Welcome back. We are talking about culture and Christianity, and before the break, we were talking about unbiblical sacrifices or rites performed for the dead. Keep your comments coming on our Facebook fan page, Champions TV, our Twitter handle, Champions TV, and at our Instagram page, Champions TV. Mr. Peter, you are talking about the unbiblical rites performed for the dead. Yeah, can you please explain further to us?
Yes, another thing that is done, for example, is when somebody dies, because people still believe that he's still alive, they are very careful what they do. So when they take them home for some tribes, they believe because if you are the head of the family, you are still the head. So they say you have to bury this person at the gate, near the gate, so that just as he was guarding the family, he can still continue guarding the family. And in addition, they also say the head must point in a certain direction, depending on where you are coming from. So these are some of the things that are done. And maybe Bananganga may want to add.
Yeah, and let's be clear. The behavior would be okay if it was not based on wrong belief. Now, we have already given the biblical view of what it means to be dead. If that is the biblical belief, it then means that where you bury a person is of no consequence at all. If you die in Mombasa, you can be buried in Mombasa. You don't have to be taken to Ingo, to Western Kenya, or to Congo, or to Uganda.
So meaning the location of the grave, it doesn't matter.
The location doesn't matter. However, the Bible is not against your location. So if you want to bury your dead in a certain location, and you can afford it, there will be no problem. The trouble is people who cannot afford, who keep the body in a mortuary for 3 months, still trying to raise funds, and they claim to be born again. Question, is the behavior, waiting 3 months, consistent with the belief that the dead don't benefit from burial? You make us question your belief system. You know, James says that faith without works is dead. What does that mean? That when your works are contradicting your faith, the truth is, the faith you are claiming to have, you don't have. You can't tell us you are born again, you believe in going to stay with the Lord, but the behavior you are having is showing that you have traditional belief. So the issue of burying somebody in a certain looking at in a certain way is actually based on traditional beliefs. And now we need to start talking about traditional beliefs, which you have not talked about very much in this program.
Yeah.
The African, and you can get it out of Professor Beatty's book, African Philosophy, Religion and Philosophy. You can also get it in Facing Mount Kenya by the late Jomo Kenyatta, our first president. You can get it from a book, Beyond Cattle, Theological Pitfalls in Africa. A lot of people have written about it. That the African worldview is that the people who are dead are not gone. They are part of the living. That means when there's a ceremony at home, they are conscious that they are not only the physical people there, they are also having to fellowship with the people who left earlier. They believe when you are buried, your spirit continues hovering in the home. Yeah. In fact, among the Luos, they are very careful about how to deal with the spirit of a dead girl who died before they were married. Because they say, if you die before you are married, you become a roaming spirit that will be disturbing the people. Because you had no home. You are too old to be from your mother's side, and you are to be with your mother, and you are too young to be, or rather too old to be in your mother, and yet you have no husband. It becomes a problem. All those are behaviors of people because the African believes that even the dead are living with us. Not only are they living with us, they also dictate things. And like I share in my book, The Secret of Contentment, is that the dead, when they relate with the living, they are dictators. Whatever the guy says when you are in the dream, you don't negotiate. You do it. In fact, that's why during the, like I was saying earlier, during the funerals, people raise a lot of money. When the guy was sick, you try to raise money, nobody gave you money. Wait until he dies. Now you cannot negotiate with the dead. So people just produce money. And they can raise much more to bury the dead body than to help to prevent the death. All that has to do with our traditional beliefs about the guy being alive. And because you cannot negotiate with him, number one. Number two, because he has power over the living. And number three, because the power he has is difficult to tell what he is actually saying, people live under fear about how to please the dead. Now the scriptures are clear. In Deuteronomy chapter 18, it means if the person has died, you must allow them to die. The traditional African belief about the dead being with the living, the dead having power over the living, is gone. Like it's very, very clear. If you want to have influence over your father, or if your father wants to have influence over you, the best thing he can do is talk to you when you are alive. But I know the next question people ask, which is still related with the funeral, is if you say something and then you die, people live in fear. That's why when people say something, they say, don't do this. But I'm not casting, because they believe if somebody dies having said something, then it must be followed. Let's be very clear. If it was not right when he was alive, it will not become right who is dead. In other words, if you are refusing to do something your father told you because it was wrong, he has no power after he is dead that he did not have when he was living. Jesus says, and we have covered it in this series, Jesus said that he was put on the cross to become our curse. That means even if your father cursed you, if you get born again, you put all the curses that were put on you on Jesus Christ, who died for you on the cross. So it will be very important to understand that you should not live under the fear of the dead because of things they said. Of course, if they said something that is useful, do it. But the reason why you do something is not because your father said it. You are doing it because it honors God. And you cannot do something that does not honor God because your dead father said it. And I think those are some of the things we are talking about when the African... Let me first of all say the Kikuyus. The Kikuyus did not bury the dead. They were so afraid of the dead. They were so afraid of the dead that when they saw you about to die, they actually moved you out of the home, so that you die in the bush. Because if you touch a dead body, you have to be cleansed. It was such a serious matter. Burying bodies, which the Kikuyus are doing expensively today, was not there even 60, 70 years ago. It has come with the white man and with the new traditions. Because they did not want to have anything. The Kikuyus feared the dead people. They have power over them. They kept them away. In fact, we are told stories, my grandfather used to tell me stories, of people who are dying, and they looked like they are dying, they moved them to a bush. Then, with the cool of the night, they resurrected, they became alive, and they started crawling. In the morning, you find them at your door. Now, all those have to do with the belief system. The behavior is coming out of the belief system that causes the African, because of his belief system, to live under the fear of the dead. This program, the biggest objective of this program, is to help the living to enjoy living and not live under the fear of death. In fact, that fear of death, the scriptures talk about it. They say that Christ Jesus came to rescue us who all our lives lived under the fear of death. What does that mean? As soon as Christ comes into your life, you should not fear death. Either your own death or the death of another. I correct myself quickly. It does not mean you want to die. Don't commit suicide. It does not mean you want your father to die, don't kill him. But it means you understand that death is in the hands of the Lord. And when the Lord decides to do it, it just happens. So what we are talking about in this program is, please understand that you cannot be a Christian and you have not experienced the rescue that Jesus gave us, rescuing us from the fear of the death. But even your own death, if you live every day, I'm dying, there's something about your Christianity that's a question mark. Because a Christian is supposed to look at death as the door, like we're saying, helping you to go to heaven. And heaven is a good place. So why do you fear death so much? Might it not suggest that you really are not friends with Jesus? Because to be absent in the body is to present the Lord. Why don't you want to be with the Lord Jesus Christ? So all these are traditions, but there are several others that have to do with various people that traditions of Africans. But all of them, the major belief system among Africans is that the dead are not dead. They are still hovering around. And the scriptures are saying you must allow the dead to die. If somebody has died, bury his body, don't bury him, bury his body. After all, he has already left. And then do not treat the body or the grave like somebody is located there. I like the way during the funeral, the pastor say, let the soil go back to the soil. It means the soil. We are not burying the spirit of the person. We are burying this body. Is a combination of chemicals. They are the ones I'm returning back to the soil. So how would you then behave like that grave? Especially, there are even people who say, if you don't look after the grave of your father, you end up with a curse. Again, it needs to be very clear. It is important to have a beautiful compound. It's important to have an orderly place. That's why we are human beings. Yeah. But you don't do it to get benefits from your parents. The dead person cannot bless you. Look after the grave, but do not assume or imagine there will be many blessings you get out of dealing with him. Okay.
Keep your comments coming through our Facebook fan page, Champions TV, our Twitter handle, Champions TV, and on Instagram, Champions TV. As we wind up, I would like to know, what about a dead person who keeps appearing on your dream? How would you clarify that?
No, it is true that there are cases whereby you see the dead person in a vision or in dreams. Yeah. It is true, it happens. But as I said earlier, demons do not have bodies. And because they don't have bodies, for them to communicate with you physically, they can give themselves the body of that person. If the demon knows that you believe the dead person is still alive, yeah, it does masquerade itself as that person and come in the form of that body and actually even speak with the voice of your loved one, so that you are convinced that the dead person is still alive, so that you can have conversation with him. And the fact of the matter is, as we said earlier, in Deuteronomy 18, it forbids that. You are actually not talking to your loved one, you are actually talking to a demon, which is forbidden. It is idolatry. The other thing about dreams is that dreams, I must say, they come from different sources. And one source is from God. We know that God speaks to people in dreams. Yeah. He has done that. He has spoken to people in visions. Yeah. And we also know that if you keep thinking about something, about somebody, that something or that somebody can appear to you in a dream. And I must also add that there are also demonic dreams which originate from the devil. Now, if your loved one dies because and you believe he or she is hovering around, and you keep thinking about it, it can appear in a dream. Yeah? But it's not that person, that is just a dream whose source is your belief. Because you have the wrong belief that the dead don't actually dead. Yeah? The other thing that I must add is that there are people, if that dream keeps coming, they say now we need to do some sacrifice. And they do some sacrifices to cast away the evil spirits, which again we said earlier is unbiblical. But dreams, they do come, and you can dream about the loved one, but If the dream comes, know that that loved one is not there. If it is a vision, as I said, it is not that person, it is a demon masquerading as that person. And that brings us to the question of people going to the graveyards to pray. There are people who go to Langata Cemetery, all sorts of cemeteries. They go visit their loved ones at the gravesite. Again, as we said, that is unbiblical, it is illegal, and it is a waste of time. And what actually happens is that when you do that, you actually attract demons into your life. And they can come and torture you because they know you think that person is alive. Mr. Nganga, maybe you want to add something?
I know our time is about up.
Yeah, maybe in 2 minutes or 3 minutes.
Yeah, it's 3 things as we summarize. That you must allow the dead to remain dead. Therefore, if you have a dream, you need to understand clearly it is something you need to reject and cast into God's hands. Because since God himself has commanded you not to relate with the dead, then the dead are appearing. You cry to the God who has given us commands, so that in his own way, he will give you deliverance, so that that dream does not keep coming. But like Mr. Karanja has said, chances are you believe in that idea of the dead being not dead but alive, and it could be causing you trouble. But I want to emphasize that do not punish yourself. Cry to God. And if you're having trouble with it, please ask somebody, a man of God, a woman of God. When I say a man of God, a woman of God, I don't mean a pastor. I mean somebody who believes the Bible, somebody who trusts in God, somebody spiritual. Let him spend time with you and pray so that the dream will not recur.
Thank you for those who have shared their thoughts on our Facebook fan page, those on Twitter and on Instagram. See you next time, same place, same time. I'm your host, Mercy Kiari. Goodbye.